today's talk of mine is almost like giving the tribute to my mother, who is no more. She left us about a year ago. I wanted to do this for her while she was alive 2 years ago, but somehow I couldn't. Thank you, Ted, for this opportunity. My first 12 years of my life I was raised in a refugee camp that turned very fast into a settlement called Greek Colony, now Shah Faisal Colony. It was a settlement that was for the refugees from 1947, as you were just told. My parents also opted to live there. They were from very privileged backgrounds. But it was not by accident that they chose to be there. Now, as I reflect back, it was by design. They wanted to raise their children on their own. They wanted to make it out on their own without the wealth and the big names of the ancestors. As we were growing, my father always said to me, do not dwell on what we were. We are what we are today, and that is it. Make it happen now. My mother, who was from Agra, and she was always in love with the Taj Mahal. And whenever she tried to tell the stories, my father always obstructed. क्या तुम महलों की बातें करती रहती हो बच्चों के सामने? He would always say that. And there, it always ended. And my mother always receded. This was a combination of my parents, wisdom of my father, and activism of my mother made it what I am today. I am deeply thankful to my parents for that. My parents, graduate of Aligarh University, an activist of Pakistan movement, were very committed why this country was made and why they struggled in it. They always said, my dear children, I need to shield you and protect you from the huge land holdings of my grandfather, and I have to protect you from all the big constructions, companies, and of the families of my grandparents, because we did not make this country to become rich, feudal jagirdars of a poor nation. We were never exposed to that wealth. I never saw it with my eyes. We were told that my grandfather from my father's side had lots of lands, but we did not know. It was never discussed. The subject was never raised. What was happening was, right there where we were living in that one-room quarter of Greek Colony, now Shah Faisal Colony, with five of us together. My mother, a government school teacher, and my father, a junior officer in the government. It was not words, it was not sermons. It was not just empty principles. They lived it. Once I was coming with my mother from the school, she was bringing me home, and we saw a huge crowd of men surrounding a quarter. She went through them. I followed her, and I saw that she was talking to a woman who was hysterically crying, with her children around her, and her belongings spread around her. Her door was locked with a big lock on it. And she turned around, she faced the men, her face red with anger, and she shouted at them, बहुत मजा आ रहा है एक औरत को रोता हुआ देखने में, है ना? And I heard it. I was 5 years old. She picked up a big stone, like a rock, and threw it on the door. I saw the door flung open, and she put the belongings of the woman in, the children in, and told her to go in. Locked the door, stood in front of it like that, and once again she turned to the men, and then she challenged them. Is there someone who wants to take over this quarter from the poor widow? Go through me. And she stood like that. And I stood by her side, watching it all. And And I saw these men who were before very comfortably standing around. And I saw them slowly leaving and going away. I saw that fearlessness. It penetrated through me and stayed with me to date. I did not know I needed that for my ultimate character. There are stories that I saw of their philosophy, of their life being practiced by them. I also saw that how men were roaming around in the street and knocking on the doors of these poor one-room quartered people. Do you have silver? Do you have copper? Do you have any bronze utensils? We are there to buy it. And women used to give away, and they would get money in return. My mother did that too. She had some silver glasses. My little copper bucket, that was sold. We got money for that. Maybe she needed it. I also saw that my mother often bring out her clothes, her wedding clothes, and she would say, "Come, children, let's see how clothes can produce silver." And right in a small courtyard, the man would come in, and I would see my mother's beautiful clothes being burned to ashes, and silver comes out of it. And that man taking it away. But the sad sights, my mother always converted it into happiness, into an adventure, into something which was fun. And that's how it lasted in me. We lived in struggle, we lived in poverty, but we never got the feeling of poverty. It was struggle. I was going out in the nights in the lantern in my hand to get milk, to get grocery, because I was the eldest. I was the only aide of my parents. I was with them, making bricks, building, laying it up, handing them over while they will put it on the wall to make our walls. Because only 1/4 was given to us, nothing else. We used public toilets they were given, and I had to run with buckets whenever there was a government water tanker to get water from. In the huge crowds, everybody was running for water, so I would also run for water. But I was raised in a community with love, care, and lot of security and protection as a child. We were having all kinds of ethnic groups, the Punjabis, the Sindhis, the Balochis, the Pashtuns, the Christians, but we never experienced any biases. Nobody ever made me conscious of that differences. I was never made to feel my gender, who I am, a girl or a boy. Never. From anyone across the communities. There was no religious pressures. I was free, so secure in my community. I would play in somebody's house, I would eat in somebody's house, and along with the children, when I get tired, we all sleep together in somebody's house. Next morning, I would find myself in my own bed. That's how I grew as a child. Complete security, freedom, and this strength of inner that I was all the time observing, my parents standing up for injustices against anybody. Things changed. They don't remain the same, right? I hit my teens. My parents, the same parents, started telling me, stay at home. You're not supposed to go outside. And here I was used to being out from dusk to dawn. Nobody ever bothered. And suddenly I have to be inside. My relationship with my parents started going in a wrong direction. I wanted to cherish and protect my freedom at all cost. The solution was, married me off at 16. I agreed to the marriage because I thought the way my mother is, married and free, I will also be free. But what a disillusion. Marriage never makes you free. I learned that. After 10 months of my marriage, I got my first son. I said, all right, as we were trained to make best out of it in the camps that we lived, in the colony that we lived, to make best out of it. All right, I'll make best out of it. And I said, I'll continue my studies. As soon as my son was born, I went back to college. But little did I know, I left it. Because I was a feeding mother, my son needed me. I left my classes. I came back to my son, but joined the college back again as a private student. In first year, I give both the years exams from studying at home and only preparing for exams. Did my inter. My first year BA, I got the second son. My second year BA, bachelor's, I got my third son, 21 years, 3 children with a bachelor. This was, during this time, as I said, we were raised with no complaints. Make it happen. So I was making it happen. I learned to cook. I learned to sew. I saved. I made a home. I supported my husband in whatever way I could. I make a home and a family. But 1971 came. And I encountered deep political issues which I did not know of. The power structures that surrounded the politics and the role of media in it, the fall of Dhaka. I could not take that. It hit me. I was raised believing in a country, in a nation. I just could not take that. And all the security, all the sense of trust was shattered in me. I started thinking deeply that, is Pakistan as a nation state safe? Am I safe as a mother? Are my children safe? I do not know what happened. What's happening around? I had my nice little home. Everything so set. What happened? And these questions started dominating me so much. It was like I just could not take it easily. And just like that, it has happened, so tomorrow is the next day. So what? No, I couldn't. I wanted to know why we faced such disgraceful, humiliating situation across the world. I was not raised that way. I was raised that honor, dignity is the most important thing in a person's life. These questions became my obsession. I stopped reading the newspapers. I stopped sitting with the intellectuals discussing over and over again these issues. I stopped hearing the political analysis of then the people. I started going to the refugee camps of Orangi town, where the refugees from East Pakistan were pouring in. This was very close to my house also. As I went there every day, and I listened to their stories of the people themselves, it was just horrible. Just listening was so painful. I could not imagine they have gone through it. Not one, not two, not hundreds, but millions. The ruthlessness of the two armies, the merciless killings of the opposite groups of each other, the sufferers, women, children, and ordinary people. And why? I questioned it. Why? It was all because we did not transfer the legitimate elected power to the leadership of East Pakistan. And who suffered? And who suffered? Very ordinary people, very nice people, people who has nothing to do with this decision. I just could not take that. It was just too much of a brutal, stark truth. at the individual level, I came home and I questioned myself. Am I justified with my 3 children, the comfort of the home and luxury that I have, and a big house that I don't need all of it, to keep living in it peacefully like a nice, respectful, dignified wife and a mother, while millions of my people have lost everything? That was a very strong question. I could not justify myself. And that's the time I opened my house and got a family of 9 children and her mother, widowed mother. Their 2 sons were killed in front of her. The third one was saved because he was, for 2 days, he was under the bodies, so nobody thought he's alive or dead. So he came back after 2. So that was a son that was alive, and another little son was alive, and with their 7 small daughters. We all lived together as one family for 5 or 6 years. My children learned to share everything with this strange family. And then their visitors used to keep coming all the time. And we all used to have conferences in our house. And they were sharing a lot. What happened to whom, what happened. It was going on in my house all the time. My parents raised me in a refugee camp, in a settlement of refugees. I couldn't do that because nobody would allow me to take my children to live in a refugee camp. I bought that in my house. And the discussion for 5, 6 years went on. And our house used to be full with their guests and with their relatives. It was in 1976 that my youngest son started going to school, and I joined Karachi University Department of Social Work to do my master's. And in master's program, you have to do community development as a subject. I got my placement of community development into the refugee camps of Orangi town to work with them. And that's what my placement back with the refugees. And I started working with them. I started making their houses, their schools, trying to reduce their pains, help them resettle. And this was the time when I came, because I was very deeply interested in the subject. I got very much immersed with these refugee young boys who were also the students of social work department. They used to live in Orangi town. We were all the time together, working in the communities and in the classes. And I observed these new refugees from East Pakistan were treated so badly in the university by then the dominant ethnic, provincial, linguistic groups of that time. And the prevailing powerful union groups of some party. They were beaten every time they asked for something. They were disgraced and humiliated all the time in the university. When I saw this, I stood with them. They were my comrades. I helped them wherever it was needed. I was with them in everything that they wanted. But this close association of mine did not go well with my married family. They tolerated lots of things of mine, but finally an option was put in front of me. Either stay at home as a nice, dutiful wife, or leave. This time, it was not about my freedom. This time, it was of a more deeper social justice question. I resolved to leave. Leaving the comfort of the house, leaving the luxuries, and all that was provided by my very well husband, who was providing me, a great provider for all my needs, was easy. I instantly clicked with my survival training of my youth and my young age. I was used to it. I was back in my childhood training. That was no problem. But the pain of leaving my children was like a blunt knife going deep, digging in my heart, into my soul. For 10 years, I lived in that pain. I survived by filling up the question forms for the researchers of university and the communities with whom I was working. They gave me food, they gave me breakfast, they gave me lunch, they gave me tea, and by the time I would leave them, they would make sure I have taken my dinner in someone's house. They made sure did I rest in the afternoon. They made sure did I have enough water. When I would cry, missing my children, they would cry with me. When I would laugh, they would laugh with me. And that's where I got back the support and reassurance by the same kind of people as my childhood. I did my master's in social work with first class, first position with a gold medal. And this was the time. And this was the time when UNICEF Karachi came in to the Department of Social Work, and I enrolled again in their sanitation program. The program was to build household pit latrines inside the houses of the poor people who did not have any sanitary toilets. I constructed 5,000 pit latrines. That's a design. The double pit design. I can make a latrine anywhere by myself. Yeah, if there is no water, and if there's a community who doesn't use a lot of water in their toilets, that's the design. And I know how to train them because I train all these 5,000 communities in hygienic use of water, toilets, and how to get rid of the diarrhea that children were suffering from. At this point, University of Technology, Loughborough, England, invited me to present a paper on this low-cost sanitation. I went to England, and there I saw that there is a program on PhD where I can do my own research in my own country on my own work, and yet enrolled in a PhD, and no need to live 4 years in England. I enrolled in the program when they agreed that this is how I want to do on my own work. By 1987, I defended my thesis, and returned home. I worked on the methodologies of working with the people, working with the communities, and create community development approaches that can bring social change through community-based leadership. Those are the methodologies I make, and that is what was my thesis on. It was at this time, my children were by now in their teens. And my youngest one, who is right now in the crowd, he played a key role for all of us to get back together as a family. And we got back on the fundamental principles and resolution that we will respect each other's freedom and professional responsibilities. I was happy to be back. I was happy to be back for one fundamental reason. My husband was a great father. He took excellent care of my children when I was not there. He waited for me. He was committed to his marriage. He did not divorce me, and neither in any form he replaced me. That was enough for me as a character of a Pakistani Muslim man. It was, and the value that I contributed in that union, that a woman needs, equality, self-respect, love and care for her children. That's all. And I got it. And that was the value of my family and my work. It was at this time, as a woman, a professional woman with education, with community, raised by the communities of my practices, came together. My family came together. I was much more consolidated person now. And this is where my career started to impact. I was called by Balochistan government to help in construction of 3,000 pit latrines around the around the Queta's low-income areas. I constructed that, helped the communities, and trained more than 80 young people of Quetta in that technology. I also changed the sanitation habits related to water and hygiene of those communities, and it was successful. This whole entire model was well received from Karachi to Quetta across the country. We created home schools as non-formal education of hygiene education. It was taken across once again throughout the country. I was again asked by the government of Balochistan in '92 to help them in girls' education. I created, along with the young people of Balochistan, a community support process of bringing the parents of the girl child in the rural area of Balochistan with the Department of Education, create a partnership. We established 2,000 schools in less than 5 years, enrolled 200,000 girls in them. This, again, broke a fundamental myth and removed the obstacle that Balochistan was suffering from ever since it joined Pakistan as one country. It was stamped that Balochistan is against girls' education. The 4,000 villages that I went to, not a single community person objected on girls' education. Not a single leader, tribal or religious, said no to girls' education. And yet, we always stamped Balochistan is against girls' education. Balochistan, now after devolution, is the first province that has created its policy for girls' education in partnership with its people, its communities. No other province has done that to date. It is only Balochistan. Once again, we only believe what we see. Nobody has time to go deep into our own issues, into our own people's lifestyles and what they believe in and what they do. It's too time-taking. I have heard again and again in policy matters, Quratulain, you should tell us something fast. This is too long. This is too time-taking. You should give us something fast. I have nothing fast. A huge population of Pakistan, since it has been created, has been ousted from policy making, has been ousted of any kind of participation. Do fast with them? What do fast with them? We all have to learn at first. And learning takes time. But here in Balochistan, it went. And it is a policy today. All these lessons, all these practices from my childhood to Balochistan made me really understand what I need to do. I created an Institute for Development Studies and Practices with this national campus in Quetta, Balochistan, for the young people of the country to know and understand this dichotomies and processes that I have gone through since my childhood. We create this into courses, and these are the courses the Institute is offering on community development across Pakistan. 4,000 have graduated. And if we can continue, we want to make it into a center of excellence for community development for the young people of Pakistan to make Pakistan into a civil, vibrant society. I came up with 5 fundamental principles, the core principles which is guiding the courses of Institute, IDSP, and which I didn't realize I was building it up since. When I saw my mother, I became fearless, the fundamental of IDSP in my life, how to be fearless. When I saw every time my parents standing up for others' injustices, I saw my core belief became that stand up for injustices. Believe. My parents, I was all the time in the situation where I believed in the people and people believed in me, and that's how I was nurtured. And pain. Pain is not a bad thing. It's okay to be in pain. It's okay. No need to get rid of it fast. No need to get out of it quickly. Because if you do that, you might compromise on your dreams. And eventually, it all comes together. Just live and learn with the pain. And last of all, and most important, is perseverance. Follow your dreams. Do not leave it halfway. It's important. It will happen. Just keep working on it. Thank you so much.